Hello, everyone joining from near and far. I hope you are doing well today, and I'm really excited to share this topic with you. So, my name's Adriana, and I'm completing my studies in recreation therapy and training to become a recreation therapist. So, today's topic that I'm going to be talking about is recreation therapy and what we can learn from it. Over my time studying it, I found that there's been so much material that I just apply in my own life. And I think, it's really reminded me of the value recreation therapy really holds. So in this presentation, I'm going to be going through and interacting with you. Um, Being that this is a pre-recorded version, I'll just have different areas where you can stop and pause and, take that personal inquiry. So this will be posted to YouTube as you're probably listening to it. And really, this, like I said, is aimed to be interactive. So with that, I have links below on different documents that you can access to utilize during this. So I really think it's important to take time to self-reflect, and I hope to do that in this. So without further ado, let's get started. So right away, I want to talk about my three goals in this presentation. My first one is to recognize that recreation is important and leisure is important for ourselves as well as our patients or clients. This is really important when we are recognizing, the importance in our own life. And I hope that we get something out of this. So the next thing is, to learn a little bit more about recreation therapy. And then the third is to incorporate some of these concepts, whether it be in your own personal practice or for yourself. I just hope, you take something away that you can use in the future with this presentation. Next, I really want to take some time to pause and do a little self-inquiry. So here I have listed the wellness wheel, and to kind of go through this, there's different domains to this wellness wheel. So different things that impact our wellness. So for the sake of recreation therapy, we often use these ones. So physical, emotional, cognitive, social, and spiritual. And if you're listening to this, either just listening and not having that visual, in each section, there is a rating scale. So 1 to 5, how fulfilled do you feel in that area? So I'll break down these areas a little bit. Quickly, I'll try not to make it too long, but essentially physical is any physical activity, your physical health. This could be in terms of nutrition and diet. This could be in terms of physical exercise. Next is emotional. So our emotional health really, these all really interplay, but our emotional health can be, how we're feeling, and what activities we're doing to ensure that we are, at our most emotionally capable, I will say, or most emotionally available. Next is cognitive. This is really getting our brain working. This could be anywhere from learning something new, reading a book, playing a strategy game. There's lots of different sections there, or activities rather. Next is social. So the social domain is different activities that you would do that you would have some kind of interaction with someone. So as you're hearing these, you can probably hear also and understand the interplay. So, if you're doing a sport, a team sport, well, that has lots of different aspects in there. The last one is spiritual. So I want to broaden our definition on this. Spiritual is not just religious values, but also just personal beliefs and value system. And, what we're doing to better ourselves as well. So I want you to take a moment and pause and access the PDF listed below and really take some time to fill this out and do a little self-inquiry. So after that, I want you to, take a little ponder on my next thought, which is, what does meaningful recreation and leisure look like to you? Now, if you're comfortable with this, I'd love to hear what it means to you, and you're more than free to have this in the chat. So Because this is pre-recorded, you can comment on this video and let me know, what does meaningful recreation and leisure look like to you? Now, there could be lots of different things that come up, so I just encourage you to say whatever you feel in the moment when you think of that first. So when people answer this question, I've noticed three major trends. So one is people start sharing their individualized interests, and then they start sharing kind of like the purpose on why they participate in that. And then also they recognize like the fact that recreation and leisure has a lot of freedom in it. And more importantly, freedom to be ourselves and freedom to choose which activities we want to do. And I think that's a really big thing that we need to focus on moving forward of, the beautiful thing about leisure and recreation is we can have one goal and many different ways to get there. And so that freedom and autonomy really is a big value system because it honors people's individualized interests. So next, let's get into the meat potatoes, or for you veggies out there like me, the Brussels sprouts and lentils, or potatoes too. So what is recreation therapy? There are so many definitions for it, and I feel like every single time I ponder this question of what really is recreation therapy, I have a new definition for it or something's added to it. So really here, um, I wanted to illustrate that it is a health profession or healthcare profession that provides individualized services for varying abilities and life experiences of individuals. And it also utilizes recreation and leisure as a form of therapy to help individuals to see and utilize their strengths and provide them with meaning, purpose, and improved quality of life. So we work often as an interdisciplinary team and collaborate to best support our patients or clients, um, or participants, whatever you'd like to call them. But most importantly, these individuals, we try to meet them where they are at. So regardless of if they're having a good day or a bad day, we're there for them. And we want them to know that we support them and we want to support them regardless. And not having that, expectation that they have to be perfect. We just want to meet them where they're at in that day, that hour, and that minute. So next, something that I've been really passionate about, and this past year I took an evidence-based practice course that was absolutely amazing and really helped me appreciate and value all the research that is out there to back recreation therapy. So something important to note is that our services have lots of benefits that have been proven, whether you want to call them scientifically proven, but there's literature to back and research to back what we're doing. So I think it's really important to recognize that, we're not just doing activities because we're doing activities either evidence-based or evidence-informed practice. So evidence-based is, we're finding all this specific research. Evidence-informed is really where we are pulling from the information we know and making an informed decision based on the evidence. So as you can see, if you're watching this over YouTube, for example, my program protocol that I just created is 7 pages long. And right now I'm working in a psychiatric forensic unit. So working with mental health for individuals who are not criminally responsible. And that's a whole nother topic that I'd love to discuss at another point. But something that, for us we're addressing is some of those major risk or need factors that, we're focusing on the individual's goals, but we're also focusing on different risks that may pertain to that individual, just so that they can best be supported and we can help in that recovery journey, whatever that looks like for them. So evidence-based practice is a lot. So I thought this flow chart that I shared is a really great way of kind of summarizing it and visualizing it. So evidence, essentially, like I said before, to reinforce the practice and reinforce the programs and ways we are facilitating and doing our practice. Next, I think a really interesting thing is, which is known as the knowledge translation action cycle or plan. And essentially that's what's viewed right now. So to summarize it, we identify a problem or identify something that we don't know. And then we find that information. So we have a knowledge inquiry, a knowledge synthesis, so really synthesizing and figuring out what that knowledge means, and then creating a tool or a product or finding that knowledge. And as we go down this, we tailor those knowledge bases. After that, we adapt that to our own facility or our own place that we are working at or population we're working at. Then we address any barriers to knowledge or use. Then we select, tailor, and implement these interventions, and then we monitor it. I think a huge part is, those observations and check-ins when we're creating a program and when we have created a program a long time ago, doing those check-ins, seeing if, the program's still as effective or as impactful rather that we want it to be. And then evaluate those outcomes. How, after the individuals have participated in a program, how do they feel about it? And then just continuing to, as the years go on, as the months go on, continue to tailor and adapt the program depending on what the research says and what you've noticed in your own practice. Because, just because there is research out there, doesn't necessarily mean that it is applicable to that client population. So this really leads into my up-to-date and current research/practice. So keeping it within that 10-year span maximum of, and ensuring that it's relevant to our population and programs. Because say if you were looking for a program for mental health, for yoga, you don't really want to look for a program for running and older adults. So just ensuring that, the content and information that you're finding is, evidence-based and scholarly is a really great thing, or with that peer reviewed, and ensuring that it checks out in, the population you're helping with and supporting with, as well as the activity. So next, I'm really going to share some core concepts, to name a few, because we do have a lot in recreation therapy. And these are 3 that I feel like could be really beneficial across many different professions, not even in the medical field, but just in general in our daily, day-to-day being and interactions with others. So the first one is a strengths-based approach, which I'll get into in a little bit. Next is person-centered approach, and then the last one is therapeutic communication. So strength-based approach, what is it all about? What is this? So really it's at first recognizing and always recognizing that each individual has strengths. I think innately sometimes we may look for those red flags or downfalls of people, and maybe in a medical field take on that medical model and looking at those maybe deficits or problems. But I think it's so important to also recognize that every single individual, regardless of their situation, their being, everyone has a strength. And I think by supporting them and encouraging them in these strengths, we can really allow them to flourish and help them along their way. The next part, as I already touched on, is really helping that individual to reach their goals and aspirations and pulling from these strengths that they do have to help them see, the ability and capabilities they have, and really truly that sense of belief in themselves and that they can do it, and just encouraging them and supporting them on that. Then recognizing the social model and how impactful the environment around them is. So there's lots and lots of information to be said on this, and I'll try to leave some links below to really explain thoroughly what the social model means, but essentially by recognizing, what's happening outside of them and maybe even outside of their control is really, really impactful for them. So, the place they live, the people they associate with, the support that they are or are not getting. There's so many different things that could be impacting them. And I think that's why really leading with a strengths-based and person-centered approach of meeting that individual where they are and recognizing that you have no idea what's going on in their head, meaning that you're not sure whether a family member just passed away, or that a parent they may not be talking to, or that their dog passed away, or regardless of the circumstance, they're just having a bad day. You never know. So just lean in with that empathy, and I think that's really important moving forward. So, next, a person centered approach. So, I think this is really important in our care as recreation therapists and in the healthcare field. And also, just whenever we're supporting someone, just letting them, you know, be that center and that knowledge house of who and how they are feeling, who they are, rather. So, person centered approach is really putting this person at the center of their care or recovery and really changing the frame of instead of what is wrong with you, how can we support you? What can we do to make sure that you have the best outcome? And really individualizing our care, our interactions with each and every individual, and recognizing that what may have worked with another individual may not work this time, and what may have worked with that same individual, sorry, may not work again and may work sometimes, but not always. And not really having that expectation, but just meeting them where they're at each and every time, and also recognizing each person's life experience, age, gender, culture, heritage, language, beliefs, and identity. So before getting into the next topic, I want to talk about therapeutic communication and therapeutic relationships. So I have four really important things listed here, and these are all topics on all amongst themselves. So I think after learning about a few of these or being reminded of a few of these, maybe just taking a little bit of time to ponder on each of them or pause and read through and maybe click on those links and find out more. But the first one is being empathetic. So, really, again, with that, meeting them where they're at and just understanding and building understanding of how people are feeling and how they're doing, and just sitting with that. And not trying to, be sympathetic of their concerns, but instead just putting yourself in their shoes and seeing and trying to see through that lens and being empathetic through that. The next one is using non-stigmatizing and supportive language. So instead of language that, degrades them or puts them down, instead using languages that empower them and promote that supportive relationship. So, say if an individual has changed their pronouns. So, for example, my pronouns are she, her, using those pronouns that they've self identified. And if you don't know, you can ask and say, you know what, I just want to be supportive and inclusive, um, and really just using language that is not harming them. And I think language and words are so important and can leave such a lasting impact. And I know there have been times in the past where I've had those really unsupportive words said to me, and it it made a really long impact. And so moving forward after that point, I made it a really huge point to use that supportive language. And you know what? Sometimes it's changed, and just being okay with, adapting to what is new, and just being okay with continuing that learning and education. So next is being supportive and building trust. This is huge in any relationship, especially in professional relationships. I think these two really go hand in hand, and they really help reinforce that therapeutic alliance that we can build with our patients, our clients, participants, and also the staff. I think it's really important, especially in helping professions when sometimes the burnout can be really huge, that we also check in and be supportive with the staff that we work with. Next is building rapport. So all of these really help to build rapport, but really helping to establish and maintain and continue to build our therapeutic connections with others is so important, especially our clients, patients, or participants. So next, I want to hear from you because I've been talking for quite some time. So pop this in the comment section. How can we utilize these approaches among other disciplines? I'm so curious to see what you guys think, because there's lots of different things I just talked about. And so I really want to get you guys engaged and see what you have to think, because I think, each profession has so much knowledge and information, and we also all have our own lived experience with various things in life. So I'd love for you to tell me more, tell me any recommendations. I'd love that. So I'll take a moment and pause, and you leave your comment below. Awesome. So after you're done with that, let's take some time to think about recreation and leisure again. So with recreation and leisure, there is so many different benefits. And I thought, these are some really important benefits that are seen along pretty much every program and activity that we do. So recreation and leisure really improve our quality of life, create meaning and purpose, build connections, and they help to celebrate our individuality and our individualized interests as well. So moving on in the topic and thinking about recreation and leisure, because, thinking about the concepts is great, but also I think we just need to take some time for ourselves and refill our wellness tank, as I like to call it. And I think recreation and leisure are really great things that we can use not only with our clients, but on ourselves, because regardless of your life circumstance, regardless of your job, it's always good to take time for yourself to recharge. So I want to talk briefly about professional quality of life. So this is focusing on a few different things. So one is burnout, compassion fatigue, and compassion satisfaction. And essentially, it's our quality of life from our profession. So when thinking about this, we really want to focus on those preventatives for burnout and compassion fatigue. And first, I really want to think about, when you first started your profession, what was that spark? And how can we keep our passion and that spark lit? And recognizing that, due to a variety of reasons, that spark may have dwindled a little bit, especially with COVID. It's really had a large impact on a lot of people. And I know for myself, I have had compassion fatigue this past year and felt so burnt out. And I wanted to give and give, but I wasn't giving to myself, which is such an important lesson that I keep on bringing back. So this leads me to the next thing. So how can we help recharge and refill our wellness tanks, as I like to call them? So finding activities and habits that really refuel and recharge us and allow us to, feel our best. So this could be for some people going to the gym. This could be for others, going out and visiting friends. The thing is, what fills someone's wellness tank may not fill someone else's. So, really taking an internal look and thinking about what things help us refill our wellness tank. And then doing those activities and recognizing that those activities actually not only increase our life, but also our work satisfaction. Because when we're coming to work recharged, we can find that spark again. We, after taking time for ourselves, can really find passion again in work and also just have that additional energy at the end of the day to do something that we love, which is so huge. So next, I want to share some beautiful things with you. So in the PDF that I have attached below, please utilize these activities to really take that time to refill your wellness tank because, as I remember learning in elementary, we can't pour from an empty bucket or an empty cup. So we need to refill our tank and ensure that it is filled before we help others, because especially in helping professions in healthcare, in any day-to-day interaction with anyone, if we're helping and supporting others, we need to make sure that we're not burning ourselves out in amongst that. So doing some of these activities, like I have relaxation techniques, and on the other side, different places to find those. I have an I am statement to really affirm who we are and the positives and the strengths we hold too. Because I think really the great thing about rec therapy is that we can apply these on ourselves too to help us in our wellness journey too, because we all have that. So thank you so much for listening and hopefully commenting in this video and this presentation. If you have any questions or concerns, please get a hold of me. I'd love to answer them. Any comments, please leave them below. You can also contact me through my email. I have my AHS email here as a student. Yeah, I would love to connect with you. You can also connect with my Cultivate the Moments email. And so I'm Adriana, and I have created Cultivate the Moments as like a fun creative outlet for me and to help me grow in my profession and grow in understanding what recreation therapy truly is to myself and to others. So thank you so much for tuning in. My next page is really just references. If you would like to look at them, feel free to. I tried to cite them. If I did it wrong, I am so sorry. But thank you for listening, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye-bye now.